China has banned the export of some materials essential to the manufacturing of electronics and some military equipment to the U.S. How reliant is the United States on these materials?
With this move today from China to ban the sales of these rare minerals to the U.S. effective immediately.
Everyone's phone, everyone's device, they're all powered by everything that's coming from the Earth.
The global energy transition, modern defense, and advanced manufacturing depend in no small part on a group of key transition minerals. Forecasts vary, but the demand for these essential minerals is set to double, triple, or even quadruple by 2040, according to industry experts. And one country has taken a sizable lead in the supply chain for transition minerals: China. Under President Xi Jinping, China has positioned itself as a global powerhouse in processing and developing critical minerals into products. But since 2013, China has become a serial acquirer of the mines producing transition minerals, leaving Western powers scrambling to secure their own supply chains.
We must have an agreement with Ukraine on critical minerals,
while fueling the expanding trade war between the US and China.
China is restricting exports of items related to gallium, germanium, among other rare earth minerals critical for semiconductors and ammunition.
So, what steps has China taken to amass transition mineral operations? Over the last 2 years, AidData, an international development research lab at William & Mary, has tracked nearly $57 billion worth of Chinese state-directed aid and credit for transition minerals in low and middle income countries. Our first-of-its-kind study is all about the mines extracting these critical minerals, the financial instruments China is using to acquire the mines, the minerals they're extracting, and how China maintains them. AidData researchers tracked China's investments in the developing world that support the extraction or processing of those minerals considered most essential for the clean energy transition by the International Energy Agency. Copper is used to wire and efficiently transmit electricity. Lithium, cobalt, and nickel are all necessary for electric vehicles, solar panels, and wind turbines, energy storage. Finally, advanced technologies like semiconductors depend on rare earth elements. So, domestically, China is already a dominant player in the midstream processing of these transition minerals and in their downstream product uses. China is less dominant in the direct mining of these transition minerals, but China is taking active steps to expand its mine holdings, using Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, financing to acquire and develop transition mineral operations in foreign countries. For years, AidData has tracked China's BRI spending under our flagship Global Chinese Development Finance dataset. You can check out this interactive dashboard in the video description below. Most recently, AidData researchers built off of this dataset to do a deep dive into where and how China has invested to expand the transition mineral supply chain in the developing world. To understand more, I sat down with the lead author of the new report, Brooke Escobar, who heads AidData's program on Chinese development finance. So, what steps have the Chinese government taken to support Chinese firms attempting to acquire transition mineral mines?
So acquisitions are a key component of Chinese development finance in the transition mineral sector, where they're using their funding to secure transition mineral supply chain. Before the Belt and Road Initiative, China spent most of its transition mineral dollars focusing on mine development in low and middle income countries. After the Belt and Road Initiative was announced in 2013, the majority of its lending actually went to acquire new mines. This is significant because transition mineral operations, or mining in general, is very capital intensive. So what China has done is has helped its own companies gain access to this market through an aggressive acquisition lending program. Beijing is providing selective credit to companies that have Chinese ownership for transition mineral operations. This is showing the percentage of lending that China provided internationally that actually went to mining sites that had some level of Chinese ownership. You can see here that close to 83% of Chinese financing went to specifically supporting operations where there was a Chinese owner. Because of the ownership that Chinese firms have in these mining sites, the firms actually get a guaranteed portion of the mineral outputs that are coming from that mining site. And then those Chinese firms tend to send those mineral outputs direct to mainland China, where it gets fed into Chinese mineral processing facilities. By supporting these companies that have Chinese ownership in this sector, China is ensuring its own access to the mineral outputs, not only now, but long into the future.
How does Beijing's lending portfolio differ from what Western governments have done or have been able to do in the transition mineral field?
This is a place where China is really following its own playbook rather than the Western norms. OECD countries have historically tied their own hands. Basically, they agreed to international rules voluntarily to collectively limit the provision of subsidized credit to their own domestic companies. And this is really in an effort to allow international markets to run without artificial interference. One of the big things that we found in the report is that China is providing subsidized credit to borrowers in its portfolio. And this subsidized credit means that it's a loan that's priced below market rates. It has lower interest rates, longer maturities, longer grace periods. China is providing more favorable loan terms to the companies working in this field than what that company would find otherwise.
Why do you think people watching this video ought to care that China is amassing a transition mineral mine portfolio?
Since these minerals are important to all countries, the competitor countries really need to understand what is China doing in this area, what is its playbook, and consider how can they better secure their own transition mineral supply chains.
But this only scratches the surface of ADATA's full report. China's continuing consolidation of the global supply chain for critical minerals has raised questions about its long-term ambitions and whether they are compatible with those of other world powers. Beijing's transition mineral playbook is an ambitious bid to secure inputs, reduce costs, and solidify dominance in key markets of the future. To learn more about the financial instruments China is using to fund their critical mineral extraction, please click the link below.